Good morning, my lovely Year 8s. Welcome back to today's lesson. As always, before we get started, please make sure that you have everything that you need for today's lesson. Pause the video now if you need a second to get sorted. Alright, if you're back, that means that you are ready to write our title, date, and our learning objective, which is I will learn about tone. Sorry, that's meant to say I will learn about tone, so you can cross that out, so I can analyse tone in key quotations in The Tempest. Pause the video and get this down now. Okay, if you're back, that means you're ready to complete our do now. So please answer these 5 questions in full sentences. Pause the video and complete the task now, please. Okay, if you're back, that means that you are ready to make your corrections. As always, give it a tick if you got it right, and if you got it wrong, give it a cross and please write the correct answer. Ferdinand is carrying logs. Miranda seems a bit unconcerned that Ferdinand is a prince, and that's because she has no idea what being a prince actually means, because she's been stuck on the island. Miranda proposes marriage after Ferdinand confesses his love. Prospero is powerful because he is observing and he's planning from the side. He always seems to be in control. And at current, Caliban is with Trinculo and Stefano. Pause the video, make any corrections that you need to. Alright, if you're back, then you're ready to move on. So today we are looking at tone, and we've looked at this briefly before in Year 7, but we definitely need a recap. So what I would like you to do is copy this mind map down, filling in the gaps, so these gaps here and here and here, using the words from this blue box. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gaps and 7 words. Pause the video and complete this mind map now for me, please. Okay, if you're back, that means that you are ready to make some corrections. So get your purple pen ready and give it a tick if you got it right. And if you got the word wrong, that's all right. Just make sure you get the correct word in. So tone is the author's attitude or feelings towards a topic. So I'm just going to cross those off. Tone can, the way we feel about a influence, and we have character and event. And then finally then we have you can recognize tone by the author's word choices. Excellent if you got all those right. If you didn't, just make sure that you pause and get that down now for me, please. Okay, let's move on. So before we get into analysing tone in The Tempest, we're just going to do a quick task to get you warmed up. So here on the screen we have a quote. It's going to snow today. And around it, I've popped 3 different tone words: furious, elated, and nervous. And each of these tone words can link to this quote. This quote can be said in a furious tone, an elated tone, and a nervous tone, but for different reasons. So, what I would like you to do now is to complete this sentence starter 3 times one for each tone word. This quote may have been said in an elated tone because. This quote may have been said in a nervous tone because. This quote may have been said in a furious tone because. Pause the video now and complete this sentence starter 3 times, please. Okay, if you're back, that means that you've completed 3 of these sentences and you're warmed up, which means we can start analysing tone in The Tempest. All right, what I would like you to do is write these 3 quotes from The Tempest, but please make sure that you leave a line underneath each of them, because we're going to write something in between them. So quote number 1 is, I'll double you up with pains and cramps. Number 2 is, I'll show thee every fertile inch of the island, and I will kiss thy foot. And number 3 is, in my false brother awaked an evil nature. You might also want to write who says it and to who, because that might form an excellent bit of revision. So write these quotes down now. Make sure you leave a line underneath. Okay, if you're back, that means you're ready to move on. So what I would now like you to do is, in the line that you've left underneath each quotation, I want you to write 2 to 3 tone words from this red list that best suit your quote. You need to think about how the character that's saying the quote is feeling at that moment and choose your tone words and write them underneath each quote. Do that now for me, please, by pausing the video. Okay, if you're back, that means you've selected 2 to 3 tone words for each quote. Now, what I would like you to do is highlight the words that helped you recognise the tone. Look at each quote, and were there any particular words within that quote that helped you decide on a tone word? Don't highlight all of the words, just choose 1 or 2 from each quote to highlight. Pause the video and do that now for me, please. Okay, if you're back, then this is completely done. You have your quotes, you have your tone, and you have your highlighted words. All right, so how does this look in a paragraph? So let's take this paragraph. We looked at this last week, so let's briefly read it. At the beginning of Act 3, Scene 3, which actually someone pointed out to me was wrong act and scene, so I apologise about that. It's Act 3, Scene 1. Shakespeare presents Ferdinand's service to Prospero as excessive and painful. When Ferdinand explains his work to Miranda, he describes it as a hard task and hard work in a disliking tone. This not only shows Prospero's cruelty, but further illustrates Ferdinand's distress and his pain. The repetition of the word hard indicates Prospero's cruelty, as he instructs Ferdinand to complete tasks that are challenging and almost unnecessary. So this is the kind of paragraph that we're used to writing. We have our point, we have our quote, we have our 3 ideas, and then we analyse a word. Now we're going to add tone analysis. This is our next step. And to do that, we're going to use this flowchart. So step 1 is to write, is there something about the way the quotation is said that made you have that idea in your 3 idea sentence? So I've already chosen a tone here, disliking. I need to pop that down and then link that to one of my 3 ideas. Okay, we link our word to an idea in our 3 idea sentence, and we do the same with tone. And then we need to add a little bit of extra explanation as to why you think that tone word was generated by the quote. I'm going to show you now how to use this flowchart to write a piece of tone analysis. All you have to do in this section is watch what I'm doing. All right, so firstly, we always embed a quote with a tone word. We all do that when we embed quotations. So when we're analysing our tone later in the paragraph, we want to use the same tone word. We don't want to use a different one because then they're contradicting each other. So I'm looking at my paragraph and I am highlighting my tone word because that's the one that I'm going to be writing about. Also, I need to link my tone analysis to one of my ideas, but my word analysis is already linked to one idea and I shouldn't use the same idea again. So I'm going to go to my word analysis and I'm going to highlight the idea that I've linked it to, which is Prospero's cruelty, and then I'm going to highlight that in my 3-idea sentence as well. That means that I now only have these 2 ideas to link my tone to: distress and pain. All right, so let's begin to write our tone analysis. So I want to introduce my tone analysis with using kind of one of these phrases down here. So this is an example from a different text, but all you have to do is replace the words. So Jekyll says the quotation in an angry and frustrated tone of voice because. So my quote has been said by Ferdinand. That's how I'm going to start it off. Ferdinand says these words in a, and as you can see here, I now need to choose what tone word to pick. Like I say, you don't want to use a different tone word than the one that you've used in your embedding. So I am going to use disliking in a disliking tone because. Okay, that is that step done. So I'm just going to cross through that so I don't get confused. My next step is to mention one of my ideas in my 3-idea sentence. Earlier on, we realised that we can't use the idea cruelty, so I'm going to choose another idea linked to my tone. So I think that Ferdinand would say it in a disliking tone because he's clearly in pain, and no one ever wants to be in pain, and no one would like being in pain. So I'm going to write because simply he is in pain. That is the idea in my 3-idea sentence, which means this step is now done. But this is the most important step, and this is often the step that we miss with our word analysis. We need to explain why we think that this quote was said in this tone in more detail. So I'm going to say because he is in pain, and like I mentioned earlier on, and it seems that he's not enjoying. He is clearly not enjoying serving Prospero. All right, and that is my 3rd and final step done. So now this is our new and improved full paragraph. So let's give it a quick read. At the beginning of Act 3, Scene 1, it's meant to be, Shakespeare presents Ferdinand's service to Prospero as excessive and painful. When Ferdinand explains his work to Miranda, he describes it as a hard task and hard work in a disliking tone. This not only shows Prospero's cruelty, but further illustrates Ferdinand's distress and his pain. The repetition of the word hard indicates Prospero's cruelty, as he instructs Ferdinand to complete tasks that are challenging and almost unnecessary. Ferdinand says these words in a disliking tone because he is in pain and is clearly not enjoying serving Prospero. Alright guys, so now I've shown you how it's done. what I would like you to do is to use the same flowchart to add tone analysis to your paragraph that you wrote in last week's Friday lesson. Okay, if you need to rewind the video to watch me use the flowchart to write my own word analysis, please feel free to do that. And I look forward to seeing your excellent tone analysis. Don't forget to take a picture of your work and send it to me via email so I can have a look. Excellent work, and I will see you in tomorrow's lesson. Take care.